Why did Japan come after America in World War II?
So, to reach that point, we have to talk about the fact when Japan allied themselves with Germany, the benefits they got out of allying with them was that they had Germany backing them up.
Right.
They don't have to worry about Russia because, at the time, they were, allied with Russia. And then at the same time, most of the islands near Japan were either owned by Britain, France, or Germany, or, a few other countries around Germany.
Right.
So for Japan, this was a prime opportunity to go, hey, we have these islands nearby, all these other countries are busy fighting Germany, let's take them.
So were they taking them?
Yeah, they started taking a few islands below them and to the right. Now, one of the biggest issues they encountered was they couldn't go too far west because we had the Philippines and the Pearl Harbor at Hawaii. So that was their biggest issue. Issue number 2 was that we supplied the Japanese oil.
I didn't know that.
Because Alaska.
Right. Oh, okay.
So we have our own oil that we have at the time. Large natural reserves. So the Japanese relied on us for the oil to fuel their aircrafts.
Yeah.
So some of the prime ministers at the time tried to negotiate with the U.S. that as long as they don't fuck with us and don't, go overboard, we keep fueling them, and they get to take a few of the islands, but not come towards us.
Right. So as long as we were giving them oil, so the agreement was basically, we'll keep buying your oil, and we won't attack you, you don't attack us, everything stays cool, and you let us do kind of what we want as long as we don't look in your direction.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, where it starts kind of, going in a bad direction was in military commanders really wanted to go, no, I want to take over all the islands, including west, like the Philippines.
Right.
So this happens at the same time as the prime minister is trying to negotiate with our current president of the time.
Okay.
And back and forth, there were so many issues. The government is having issues here and there. People are being pushed out of power. Military commanders trying to take charge.
In Japan.
Yes. This is all happening
in
in
Japan. So there's
Japan.
a power dynamic in Japan that we don't know about over here. So the prime minister was getting pushed around, there's kind of something going with the military leaders and the prime minister and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which at some point they take command.
The military does?
Yes, of the soldiers and everything. And trying to go take over.
That makes a lot of sense now.
And our president and Secretary of State saw this and was not too happy. But, being how we are and neutralists and also being America, we were very, patient, trying to, wait it out, see if there's a response from them.
Yeah, so were we getting war ready at the time, or do you know?
So this is when we were declared ourselves neutrals.
Right.
But we were still supplying Britain at the time. We were still supplying Britain a little bit, but besides that, we were completely neutral.
That's kind of crazy because when you say it like that, we were supplying Britain on one side on the Allies.
Yeah.
And then we were supplying Japan with oil on the Axis powers.
Yes.
So we're truly neutral.
Yeah.
We were just making money.
Yes. Being America as we are, we made a profit on it.
Pure capitalism.
Yep. So as the soldiers trying to do that, the prime minister tries to send out a response that the U.S. government made of the agreement that they could take a few islands. We will still sell you oil, slightly marked up price, since you kind of get a little too close to us. But as long as you don't come towards our direction, our territories, we'll leave you alone. And they were waiting for a response for that. And because the military commander took note of that and sent one of their own messengers over, the time they wanted to send the letter was a few hours before Pearl Harbor happened.
Oh. Whoa!
And the reason why is because the military commander thought it was a great idea and it was an excellent plan, that if they were to bomb the battleships in Pearl Harbor, that it would cripple America and prevent them from attacking them.
Right.
Whereas, so that if they were to bomb all the ships and everything in the ports there, that America wouldn't be able to respond in time, and so they would have time to take over the rest of the islands. So the Prime Minister had a bad feeling about that, because that would be a really bad decision to piss off a huge ass country.
Right, who was neutral at the time.
Yes. So what they
And giving you your oil.
So what they did not realize was that America at the time did not have their aircraft carrier stationed there, because they were actually on a patrol at the exact same time.
So it was just bad timing.
Yeah.
Wow. So the war could have been different had the aircraft carriers not been on patrol.
Yeah, and they're still docked in.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They
just bombed a bunch of destroyers and
battleships and everything.
Battleships. Oh crap.
But all the aircraft carriers America had, they were out on patrol. All 7.
And for people who don't know, what kind of military power is a battleship? Because because it seems like 7 battleships should not be enough to change the course of a war.
Oh, the aircraft carriers?
The aircraft carriers shouldn't be enough to change the course of a war.
So, the strength of aircraft carriers are like very vital at the time, because aircraft carriers, while they don't have main guns like a battleship or a destroyer or cruisers, they do what they have is aircrafts.
Yeah.
Hundreds of aircraft, especially America's aircraft carriers. They have like by dozens, and they have material, spare resources, and spare parts
for floating cities.
Yeah, they're floating cities at the time. They have all the rations. They're able to, sell out for like months. At the time when they're still out patrol, they're able to like go out for like 12 months straight, like a whole year straight, just fine, because they had enough, resources and everything, just enough. And it's also because they're also already prepared, because the aircrafts there are not Air Force, they're the Navy aircrafts. Right. So they're trained to fight both on the dogfights and do land support.
Okay.
Yeah. So they know how to, support ground troops on the ground while dogfighting against aircraft.
So back then it was like F4s and stuff like that, or lower level, I'm thinking.
I don't know the exact details of the planes, because they had a lot of planes. So I don't know, like, they have, like, the, a few aircrafts. Some of them were dogfighters. Some of them were bombers, like, small bombers, but they still do the role.
Okay.
Just fine.
And so aircraft carriers go out in a carrier group, so they're like not just the aircraft carrier themselves.
Yes.
They're like a bunch. So like a bunch of ships, destroyers, battleships. They got like everything in a group.
Yes.
Cruisers.
But for this specific battle, it's just aircraft carriers.
They're just out. They're just chilling on patrol, just doing it.
Yes. They're supposed to say just an over patrol, just going around. We're America. We check our coastal borders, make sure nothing, too bad is going on. And, yeah. And compared to any other aircraft in the world at the time, our aircraft carriers were full metal. So we didn't have to worry about burning.
Right.
Because there was no wood.
So you couldn't burn us.
No.
You had to sink us.
Yes, it had to be sunken. And when it needs to be sunken, it needs to, you need to shred it apart for it to sink properly.
Right.
Yeah.
So Japan messed up.
Yes.
So
big time.
So Japan just had really, really bad timing, because the letter. What do you think would have happened if the letter would have happened?
Way earlier, days ahead.
Days ahead.
Well, then America would understand, especially Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president at the time, will understand what the fuck's going on over with Japan. Because while everything that's happening in Japan, the battle power between the prime minister and the military leaders, America had no clue what was going on over there.
Right, because people don't understand that this is the 1940s. There's no cell phones.
Yes.
So everything is letters.
Yes, telegrams,
letters, but you can't just telegraph across the world.
Yes.
There's no news media. There's literally no way to know what's going on halfway across the world.
Yeah, so how they had to transport this was through letter.
Right.
That was the way they could do it.
Which is crazy. It's just crazy thinking about how different this would have been had there been just a different mode of communication, right?
Yeah.
How many lives have been saved? You know, because maybe we scrambled some of our boats. We're not just grouped together sitting in Pearl Harbor. Maybe we tell them, hey, dropping bombs on our shit is a really bad idea.
By the way,
let me show you what we have in production. Here's a quick video clip.
By the way, quick note: we had the Pearl Harbor bombing.
Yeah,
it was not unexpected.
They knew it was coming, kind of.
So we had code crackers.
Yeah.
Already, we already been watching every single line of communication. Already.
They kind of knew it was coming.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah.
But like it came through the intercept message of someone like keeping notes of our ships and everything, and then planning out an attack somewhat.
Yeah.
But it was dismissed.
Are you serious?
Because they always intercept hundreds of others like threats and whatnot. So this one specific one, someone brought it up because it seemed kind of concerning, but the higher ups just kind of dismissed it a little because they didn't,
didn't make any sense for it. They're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Why would they? Well, I guess it makes sense now. I wonder if that guy got fired.
Probably.
I always wonder about shit like that. When something like that happens, like, did that guy get fired or did he get promoted?
Probably was either demoted or dismissed.
I mean, he slipped on a banana peel and broke his own neck and then hung himself in his jail cell.
But the thing is, though, it would have dynamically changed if they actually
seriously?
Yes, if that was taken very seriously, that would have changed because that was also good enough for us to be like, okay, they're really trying to plan an attack. They're going to backstab us. Let's go show them what we are.
So that's crazy. And I think they would have been like, I think I would have left like dummy ships like in Pearl Harbor and just been back out in force. It would have been midway, but it would have been over Hawaii. And then we would have went and showed them what's up because it's so crazy that I laugh with my daughter about that. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I just laugh at because I don't know the true history behind it. Like, damn, Germany wins the war, Japan doesn't jump the gun.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I'm like, I could be speaking German. Well, I wouldn't be because I'm black and we weren't vibing with the whole Aryan race theory. But it's just crazy that, like you said, how many not small things. It's a huge thing. Probably a huge thing. These military decisions, these certain decisions could have changed the entire course of human history.
Yes.
Because if they don't jump the gun, right, and allow us to stay neutral, we don't jump into the war, like full force. Because the one thing about America, because I'm a passionate American. The one thing about being a passionate American is I don't give a shit what's going on until you touch me.
Yeah.
And now it's on.
Yeah, and that's how America was back in 1945.
So they just threw the whole country's support behind the war by attacking us on our own soil, because nobody attacks us on our own soil.
Yes.
Because I was in the military after 9/11. Well, during 9/11, I had signed up before 9/11. During 9/11, I was already in the military station in D.C. And I remember the sentiment right after 9/11 was, let's find out who did this and fuck them. There was no anti-anything. It was like, okay, what do you need to go shoot and kill whoever did this to us, whoever attacked us? And so I can't imagine how it was then.
By the way, another point is when they actually bombed Pearl Harbor. Yeah. Yeah. So when America actually joined the war, they fought immediately, almost on two fronts immediately.
Yeah. They went into the South Pacific and took care of business.
Yes.
Easily. I mean, not easily, but we had a bigger Navy, right?
At the time, since
we had the aircraft carriers.
Yes. So if you consider just the aircraft carriers against Japan at the time, yes, we had a superior Navy because all the crew members were fully trained. They understood what they were doing. These were not like, oh yeah, baby, sucking your thumbs. No, these were like,
these vets. Yeah.
Yes.
They sent the good shit out.
Yes.
They were like, hey, you've been in 10 years plus, you're going to Japan.
Like, they're the type of people, like, they jump onto the AA gun to see a couple planes, and they're going down.
They're going down. Like, they're not missing those. And it's crazy because we did that, and then we jumped into the European campaign at the same time.
Yes.
And when we jumped into the European campaign, we jumped in with 2 feet. Right?
Yes.
We jumped in with 2 feet.
Another thing I always like to take a look at is how World War II started in 1938.
Right. So
And
not to Americans.
no,
To Americans, World War II started in 1942 on December 7th. that's when World War II started for Americans.
Actually, technically, it actually started in 1943.
Yeah.
Around of 1943.
Yeah.
We finished that war in 2 years.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, but for Americans, we're like, oh, December 7th? 1942? That's when the war started. You attacked us, you started it, we finished it.
See, every other country took 4 years, already, like, fighting it. Like, 4 years into it, they've been going at it. Once America got involved, 2 years later, it's over.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. I think that's what established us as a superpower.
Yes.
Because at first, we were just that country over there.
We were just that country. We had some power, but we didn't look like...
But we joined a war that was 4 years in, 4 or 5 years in.
We weren't even, like, permanently involved. It didn't concern us at all.
Yeah, we didn't care. It was like, that's your thing. We jumped in with 2 feet and hands swinging, and we're like, we're ending this shit now. We're ending this shit now. We want treaties. We want accords. We want a couple of your islands, Japan. We want everything. Japan, you can no longer have a military for like 50 years because of the shit you pulled. We want treaties at Versailles. We want all kinds of shit. We want Geneva and conventions. We want it all. And it's crazy because, like you said, just a couple weird decisions could have changed the entire course. Because what if Japan and Germany aren't allies, right?
Yeah.
So what if Germany's like, I can do this on my own, or they say, you know what, China, hey China, what you want to work with us?
Actually, when Japan actually negotiated an alliance with them, Germany was already in alliance with Russia.
Right.
Like, already.
But then Italy came in, right, Stalin?
Yeah, he came in a little later.
And then they dropped their alliance with Russia.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, looking back at it, that's going to just keep falling. Looking back at it, I don't know if I could be in alliance with a country that I'm watching literally take over other countries in a couple of days. Like the Blitzkrieg on Poland, they just rolled into Poland.
It's because Stalin got ill.
What I'm talking about is Russia. I'm like, these guys are too close for comfort with what they're doing to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm not going to be friends with the neighborhood bully when I'm seeing him beat up and rob everybody around us. Because at some point, there's going to be nobody else to beat up and rob, and he's going to be looking at my jewelry and money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what Hitler tried to do was just to, go in alliance, bring them out, see their force, have them come out, and then, turn around and...
Which he eventually did.
Yes, but it wasn't too successful.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if... So again, if he stays out of it with Russia, right? How long do you think it is until he backstabs Italy? Because he's going to want it.
Actually, funny thing is he never really had a plan to backstab Italy because he didn't go towards Italy and made an alliance with them. Mm-hmm. Italy came towards him and joined him.
Because Italy saw the writing on the wall. They're like, they're seeing what's happening in the rest of Europe. They're like, we can't beat them. They're getting too big. They're just literally, and I don't like to praise anybody in war, but the technology Germany had, the way they were moving, the strategy they had was just unprecedented at the time.
Yeah.
It was just all of it. Like, you weren't beating Germany in a land war at that time. Their tanks were just mowing through people. That Blitzkrieg shit was real.
Yes.
They were like, oh, we want your capital. We'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. And other people were like, no, you got to fight through everything. They're like, no, we'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, France not rolled over. I hate to say this because it piss people off, but France rolled over. Poland got rolled over. Like, whatever. Every country in the way of what Germany wanted to do was getting just manhandled.
France, if they actually, considered this, they would have actually defended pretty well.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason why France fell was because they had a huge-ass wall. Excellent defense.
Right.
Would have actually kept Germany out. But it didn't because they didn't have to go through the wall. They'll just take over 2 countries right above it and just go right around.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, so we have a gate, right? We have a gate around our compound, right? But it'd be like having one gate and the rest of the shit undefended. And it's like, all right, why the hell would I bust through this wall when I can just come from the north and just come down? And that's what Germany did. And the strategy of it, if you take out the human aspect of it, if you take it out and just look at it as just on strategy wise, they were brilliant until they weren't. Until they decided Russia in the winter was a good idea. Going deep into Russia in the winter was a good idea. Until they decided, to just like, I would have just, if I were them, and I don't know, I'm not a strategist, I would have just bombed the shit out of Great Britain and never tried to come over.
So, Britain, they could also deal with later.
Yeah.
Because
they weren't doing anything.
Well, they were, but like, they lost a lot of positions. They lost a lot of forts. They lost a lot of, troop placements. Because the only way they can get over is by boat or by plane.
And Germany had the U-boats just sitting there.
Yeah.
And they had their boats, they had their navy and the U-boats just sitting there.
If you also, remove that aspect, Germany also, like, put in fortification bunkers on the shores.
Right, so they couldn't do any... Britain was a non-factor.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I get it, why they kept bombing them to keep them from producing anything. Yeah. But they could have just did, like, a bombing run, like, every couple days and just kept Britain out of everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened there. But I just don't understand. Do you know the reason why they went into Russia? Was there a reason given, or they just said, fuck it?
Actually, for the campaign in Russia, Hitler wasn't actually in control of that.
Oh.
It was
not Rommel.
No, it was a military leader for that Pacific section of that front.
Yeah.
Took control. And he thought it was, it would be fine to push in. And it's because they were reliant on not only on their own supplies, but stealing other supplies on land. And because, that was successful with France, because, they just took the resources.
We just took everything, but Russia was
because it was there.
We're going to keep retreating, and then we're going to burn everything on the way in.
Yeah, so they burned all their wheat fields. Every tract that they had, they blew it up as they went back.
Which was brilliant. So now you're leading them into this, they're leading them into this untenable position because you can't go back because the supply lines are cut. And you can't stay here because there's no supplies. So all we can do is push forward deeper in, and every time we're giving up ground, we're letting you think you're winning these real battles, and we're drawing you in deeper and deeper in.
Another issue Germany had, and Russia took advantage, was Germany's tactics, and this is why the Blitzkrieg is successful, is to keep a steady supply.
Right.
Every time. So what that means is just instead of, getting supply later, like, how we did with America, but we were, like, way faster.
Yeah.
Everything. So there was no point. There was no difference.
Right.
But for Germany, instead of having, subsequent sets of supplies, it was a line of constant supply. Is what they try to do with their attacks. So Russia, understanding how, the German army was going to do that, they did all the burning and breaking because they knew that their strategy wasn't to have a set amount of supply planned out, go out, and then supply later.
Right.
It's to have a line built.
So
to supply throughout the whole way.
I wonder if Germany changed tactics, do they win? I don't think they could win, though. I don't think they could take Russia, because Russia, just by land mass, is huge.
Yeah.
To get to Moscow from Germany is ridiculous, especially, unless maybe in the summertime. Maybe.
Well, the issue Germany had was that the supply lines were too far.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough supply. Because if they were actually well supplied, like if they were able to wait it out and like have a steady supply, of just having, cargo going out and then maintain, a minimum level supply, they would have successfully took over, Stalingrad. But they failed at it because they were too rash.
Yeah.
And they were too reliant on having one supply line trying to stay constant.
And a lot of the misconception, because I even as much as I'm not a true historian, but I do like just to look at things. I always thought it was Hitler trying to fight a war on two fronts, not realizing, three fronts, because I thought he was in North Africa too at the same time.
Yes.
So I'm thinking Hitler's trying to do all this, and it's not actually him doing it. He's delegating to his generals, who are then making these enormous mistake.
Yeah. So
and now they're rear
Yeah, because that's actually how it was. Because Hitler, was fighting on three fronts, and he had, three different generals all handling each campaign.
Right.
So, out of the three generals, the one doing the Western Front, he was a brilliant strategist. He knew some things. Like,
he figured it out.
Yes, like the Operation Overlord.
Mm-hmm.
He understood like what was probably going to happen, and so he requested Hitler to actually bring some tanks over.
Yeah.
But Hitler did not. He actually sent them elsewhere, which is why why in Operation Overlord there wasn't any German tanks there.
Okay.
Because they were pulled out and moved somewhere else. But the general for that front wanted the tanks there because he had a bad feeling. He understood that with America involved and how they weren't attacking as much, that they were trying to do one big push for a big offensive.
Yeah.
But Hitler, didn't listen to that, and that's why Operation Overlord was still pretty successful on that front for that push.
That makes sense. And I know North Africa was successful, was decent for them too at first, right?
Yeah, but the British eventually, which is where one of the branches, the SAS, the British fucking Commando Squadrons, they actually do successful campaigns down there.
Right.
And they do like sabotages, like the sabotage.
And that would kind of turn the tide down there.
Yes.
Just the SAS. So I don't always wonder, because I don't always think about it. I often wonder when I think about it, like, if they concentrated on one region at a time, do you think Germany wins the war?
Yes. If they actually concentrated on, one at a time.
I do know that their technology was, if not more advanced, it was at the peak of advancement and getting better and better, because we still to this day use their innovations and their scientists and stuff. They know.
Yeah, but one of the biggest other reasons that Germany lost the war on this multi-front was, if you compare like resources of like Britain and America versus Germany, Germany did not have enough resources.
They were poor.
Yeah.
They were poor.
Well, actually, when they started, they actually had, plenty of, normal resources. It's just that what they were building was so demanding.
Yeah.
And
so they couldn't keep up?
Yeah, they couldn't keep up. So
the losses in Russia kind of screwed them.
Yes, they were actually massive. Because
I know they got
because Russia and Germany, Russia lost so many tanks and people, but that didn't matter to them because they weren't like some expensive like IS-3 Cold War tank that was like well built. No, it was just a T-34, T-30-85. Quick welded together, put some rivets in, send it right out.
Here we go.
Done 15 minutes.
It's a gun on wheels.
Yeah, gun on tracks.
Yeah, gun on tracks. So we're just gonna go out there, and when you blow it up, we'll make another one.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's actually one of the things. One of the sergeants, who was the tank commander, took note of how every time they destroy a tank, there will always be another one to replace it.
Yeah.
And if they lost a tank,
they didn't have
another tank to replace it. Like if they lost a Tiger II, they lost it.
They lost it.
There's not another Tiger II coming in.
Right.
But if they lost a T-34-85, boom, another one right in.
Another one's right in because it was just basically a gun on tracks. The guys driving it knew it. The guys making it knew it. The soldiers around them knew it. They were like, look, this thing is, if it gets hit a couple times, it's gone. But it does have firepower to take out.
Actually, funny enough, some of these other soldiers weren't actually always soldiers of the current war. There could actually been like some veteran soldiers that fought in previous wars, just joining in to defend their homeland.
And that's the crazy part, and that's why I think that's why another reason why, because they were attacking, and Russians I've met a few, and they are prideful.
Which in the Battle of Stalingrad, they actually did a pincer attack. Yeah. Yeah. Like, because you know how, the Blitzkrieg, right? They push forward. So, the Russians, they actually did a pincer attack on Germany for that battle, which was successful. Let them come in through and then come down on the sides.
They come down on the sides.
Cut them right off.
And there's nothing coming. There's no supplies coming.
Yeah.
There's nothing coming. It's just whatever you brought. If you don't win this war with who you brought, you're done.
And that was the battle of attrition. Mm-hmm. And Russia at the time can always win a battle of attrition.
Of course. And to this day, they probably still could.
Yeah.
Because of their isolationist. They're just an isolationist country. They're very self-sufficient. So nobody goes into Russia and does shit.
Yeah.
So Germany, they lost Stalingrad. They lost the war because they lost Stalingrad.
Yeah.
They lost the war because they lost Russia. I think they even with not North Africa notwithstanding, a lot of stuff going on in Normandy and all this stuff on the Western Front notwithstanding, they lost so much resources.
Yeah.
Because they lost supplies, they lost equipment, they lost soldiers that they could have kept at their border or barely pushed beyond their border that they could have redeployed.
Yes.
While defending their flank.
Yeah. Which, if they actually had spare tanks to fortify Normandy,
yeah,
that Operation Overlord would have failed.
That's what I'm saying. So if they hadn't pushed, if those tanks weren't gone, getting systematically destroyed in Russia, Normandy fails.
Yeah. And actually, that's what the Allies already kind of knew because they were allied with Stalin at the time.
Yeah.
And actually, they understood that, being with intel, like, just kind of, thought that, because with Stalin having to deal with all the tanks coming his way, they understood that, Hitler probably moved all most of those tanks that way.
Well, there's a finite, no, it's not like a video game. You don't get to spam the resource button. You have to build these things. It's not like you can build one every day. It's not like there's not like production factories like there are with automobiles. You're not like spamming 1,000 a day. You're just
like we did here in America.
Yeah. But we also weren't getting attacked.
Yes.
And we were fighting 2 different wars.
Yes.
We were fighting a land war and we were fighting a naval battle and an army battle. Naval air, army air. But we weren't just trying to fight 2 land battles at the same time. We probably would have been screwed.
Yes.
Because, like you said, like the British said, all or nothing. We went all in on the land battles with our help there. We went all into Japan and the Midway and South Pacific with our naval battles.
Yeah, we were like so well. It's like so well built, like with all our resources and everything.
We ended it.
Like to the point where when it comes to bombings.
Mm-hmm.
So Britain actually does night bombings in World War II.
Right.
And it's because their planes aren't capable of doing it in daylight because they're not strong enough to withstand like the higher calibers.
Yeah.
So they do night bombing because and paint their under. It's fine if you ever see like images of World War II British planes. The underside will be black for the bomber. So that they fly at night.
Okay.
And they did it so that there's minimal fire because they can't see because the ground gunners can't see shit.
Yeah.
And while the bombers can't see shit, they just drop bombs.
They're just like, hey, we're just gonna. These aren't smart bombs anyway.
And British bombing strategies, unlike America's, they regular big ass bomber drop hundreds of bombs.
Yeah. America was like daytime, nighttime, anytime. We're dropping bombs, baby.
500 to 1,000 pound bombs.
Yeah.
And just carts.
To this day, we still do that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, what Britain does is different. They go for more of a tactic of a bomb called a blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
Cookie bomb is the other nickname it has. So these blockbusters are not designed to penetrate. They're designed to decimate buildings.
Right.
To flatten them.
That's it. They're just pressure.
It's sheer explosive power. So the initial models they had is a 4,000 pound barrel bomb with M-attacks. And there's no it's just a thin barrel, no extra metal, maybe a little bit of metal, maybe a rebar, over here or there, but it's just mostly filled with explosives. So it has more of an explosive strength of about 3,998, TNT equivalent explosive power.
Yeah.
And it's just designed to you see that building in that whole area? Gone.
That's it.
And then what they do afterwards? Incendiary bombs.
Right behind those.
Yes.
Oh, that makes actual sense. That makes a lot of sense if in a tactics perspective. Level everything and then burn what's left.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what.
And America was just dropping just
drop bombs.
Just sheer. We're gonna carpet bomb the entire place, and whatever's standing, we're gonna carpet bomb that tomorrow. That's how we do things, though.
Yes.
We have our bunker busters and things this day where we're just oh, you want to fight your wars from underneath the ground? We're gonna make a bomb that penetrates and then explodes down there. We're America. We just do weird shit like that. It's successful.
We'll find a solution to the problem.
We find a solution to the problem, but it's usually explosive. This is America. There's 1.2 guns for every human being in our country. We do war well.
America was just excellent at like finding solutions.
Yeah.
Britain, on the other hand, they're the weird ones for creating stuff because they created a lot of different stuff. Like, so for how dams are usually how they're built for powering, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how much power they can pull. So in World War II, destroying dams were very vital for Britain at times, so that they could knock out the power and kill the production. So usually there's always bombers have a hard time hitting those targets, right? Dropping bombs, hitting the target, properly destroying them.
Yeah, they're just dropping. They were dumb bombs back then. Yeah.
Britain, one of their scientists developed a unique bomb that skips on the surface of the water.
Like skipping a rock.
Yes.
Holy crap!
I've
never heard of this.
To slam
right into a dam.
Yes, and blow it up.
It's forward momentum.
Yes.
It hits it, and then the explosive force goes.
And breaks the dam.
That is insane. That is so hard to wrap your mind around. Like, who are these masters of destruction that are thinking of this shit? Like the V2 rocket, like the German V2 rocket and things of that nature. Like, wartime brings out the best and worst in us, right? Because we have we got to do this. How do we do it? This has never been done before in history, but we need a bomb that literally skips over the water like a rock and blows up the first thing it sees and then goes forward.
Yeah.
Not up.
So this
So it's a shape charge, basically. On shape charge.
So this wasn't exactly a shape charge. It was just a generic bomb because they just need to break the dam.
Yeah. You don't need to do too much, just break it.
Yeah, they need to destroy it. And dropping bombs is not too accurate on
well, especially a dam it's hard to hit.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna hit the top.
So yeah, this whole bomb was built. Why not? Instead of just attacking from above, why not have a bomb come straight forward?
So you don't have to send a squad in to plant explosive. You're literally just saying, hey, you know what?
Or just send out a bomber and just guess if
this bomb's gonna go in this direction and hopefully it hits the dam. We're gonna send like 10 of them, and we'll see which one hits. And they were probably pretty successful with it.
Yes, actually, they had I think about 7 successful operations.
Wow.
With it.
So. And that's the stuff that a lot of people don't know, because we read the history books, and American history books especially, we kind of gloss over the contributions of other countries, and we know about D-Day, we know about the Battle of Midway, we know about Pearl Harbor, we know about Stalingrad because it was a big turning point. But we don't know all these little things that really change the dynamics of the war, and the reason why we're not all speaking German, because I do believe that Germany would have turned on its allies.
Yes.
I 100% believe that Germans win the war, right? They take over all of Europe. They looking at Italy like, that piece is looking real tasty. We're gonna go ahead and take. You know what's gonna happen if you don't just surrender. We can come to some good terms, but we want that.
Yeah.
So now they've taken over all of Europe. Now they turn and look at Russia and say, you know what? We don't even want you yet. You're too big to take over. We're gonna take over Southwest Asia.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna move into South Asia, India, and then. In China, and then we're going to come up to Russia, and then they're looking at America like, this Bering Strait? Yeah, we're just going to cross that. We don't even need Japan anymore, so while we don't need Japan anymore, we'll just take you guys over too. But since you were cool with us, we won't take your people. We're just going to take your resources and sign some sort of treaty. I believe that Germany would have taken over the world had they not made a few critical errors.
Yes.
Had Japan not gotten feisty, had the Eastern Front guy not gotten too big for his britches, I think what was happening was everybody else was having so much success. He was trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
Because the Western Front guy was killing it.
Yes.
The African campaign wasn't bad. They were losing to the SAS, but it wasn't like horrible losses.
Yeah.
It was a lot of back and forth. I do remember that. Wasn't that Rommel was the commander? Or was that World War I?
Rommel.
Was Rommel 1 or 2? I don't remember, but I know that they weren't horrible. It wasn't like they weren't getting washed, like they got washed in Russia.
Yeah.
And America wasn't involved. By the time America would have gotten involved by the time, because we weren't there's no social media, so they had to really rally Americans to a cause. Because as Americans, we're very arrogant and very self-centered. And if it's not affecting us, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Even to this day, a lot of the humanitarian aid and things of that nature, like, why does that affect us? Well, studying the history of war and the history of international politics kind of shows why we need to have allies in other countries, and we need to aid them. I'm not saying give them all our money, but we do need to maintain friendly relations with a lot of these other countries, and we're in critical strategic positions in case our enemies decide we don't want to fucking play no more, nice no more. We want to start some shit, and that is World War II history in a nutshell. It's a real nutshell, but we're gonna jump on another war next week.